Now, I know you may be in shock, surprise, disbelief. I'm actually posting a video about a game other than MechWarrior, which if you've looked through my library of other videos at any time, I actually did post many about other games at different times, but there's actually only one specifically about World of Tanks. And I basically said goodbye to the game, gave my reasons, said that's it, I'm out of here. And here I am posting a video about World of Tanks. Now you're probably wondering, if you saw that video, what's going on? And I had several friends that still play World of Tanks talk about, oh, you can come back, try it out, see what you think. I mean, all this different stuff. And so I finally did. And I will recap my 2 reasons. There were several reasons. It wasn't like one thing or 2 things, but there were 2 key things that were the reasons I dropped. And this particular battle, I had a little bit of learning curve figuring out how I was playing the game back then and where I left off and what I was doing. And the tank in question here basically has a gun so small I can't do anything else in most of the tanks in the game, so I'm just a scout basically, just kind of doing a few things. The 2 main reasons I left were the community and the way they were handling player efficiency calculator. The community, by and large, of players had just sank to rock bottom people you didn't want to game with anymore. What do I mean? Well, a third of the games, a third, not like every now and then, a third of the games, you would have somebody that would team kill somebody on their own team, saying they didn't like that tank, they didn't want that tank on their team. This is usually a high tier player that nobody else could do anything to him or about, and the other community members wouldn't do anything about it. They didn't care. So it's like you're alone if you're protesting or arguing. They're just cursing out the players on their own team, saying you're all a bunch of losers. Why always get the loser team? You're a bunch of morons and women. Just using words I wouldn't even try to quote, but just cursing out the team, calling us losers. And I'm here like I replied once, instead of calling us all idiots and losers, how about you put forth an idea as to how we can do better? Put forth an idea. Hey guys, let's work together. Let's do this. Which they wouldn't. And I a few times tried to put forth ideas. Hey, let's do this, guys. And they would curse me out, saying, "Who named you boss? You idiot." Blah blah blah. There was actually one team I was on. This is no exaggeration. There's one team I was on. They started bad-mouthing each other's tanks. They started shooting at each other. I'm running my little Tetrarch, and I just decided, I chatted to the other team, just go for the win. They're killing each other off. Let me live. And I ran off. They doubted me until they started seeing players die. Literally half the team killed each other over whose tank was stupid. Then they rushed across to try to get some damage and stuff before it was all gone. And then they started camping, and I was the only survivor running off into the map to hide. They started hunting me down because they were kill greedy. And in this one, there was a player that did some kind of team killing and got taken out, at least. But you'd have stuff like that happen a third of the time. Another time, I was running with my nephew, and a player, top tier, and just spun it around and killed him right off the bat. As soon as it go, he killed him. He said, I didn't want that tank on my team. And a third of the time this was happening. It was so prevalent. It was just ridiculous. And I'm here like, it's so frustrating to be in this. It's like, why am I playing this? This is putting up with these people. Then, at the same time, they nerfed the daylights out of the tier, or the faction I like the most. So I basically had to ask myself, why am I playing this? I mean, do I want to go back to tier 3 or 4 to try to regrind my way back up to tier 9 because everything is so nerfed? Basically, everything went to the United States at that time. With the gold ammo, there was no point in running Russian, which had heavier armor, because you could penetrate the armor anyway. And the German tiers were not much use, simply because again, everything went to the United States basically just with be able to do sheer number of damage, and biggest guns and highest mobility is basically what the game was. And it was just very frustrating to try to play it, and from a player standpoint. But the other big thing, that was the irritation. The other irritation was the way they did artillery. They so nerfed artillery, and by nerf artillery, I am saying they nerfed artillery. I was a big artillery player. I would have artillery matches where at the end I fired 5 shots and destroyed, got 4 direct hits, destroyed 6 vehicles, things like that. I mean, it was just, especially counter battery. That's a whole other story. Whole other story. Anyway, especially in Clan Wars. But they so nerfed the load times and the aiming circles. The one artillery I was using after the big update, they were talking about all these changes. So everyone was upset and dropping artillery. So I said, well, I'll give them a chance. I will try it and see what it is. Maybe sometimes people complain about something that's not really that big a deal. The loading was so slow. At most, I could get 3 shots off in a game. It was 5 minutes to load. Another one, the aiming circle. When it stopped shrinking, I'm staring at something that's so large, the entire team could park in it, bumper to bumper, side to side, form a block, and I would have a 50% chance of doing damage. It was that large. It was like, why? It was just pointless, and everyone was dropping artillery. So it was rather frustrating to try to play, and they just eliminate basically entire faction and an entire style of play when that's your main interest. It's like, okay, do I want to go back to Tier 1? Do I want to go back and try to do this stuff from Tier 5 and work my way back up? But those are frustrations. The big deal breaker for me, that's it, I'm done, was the governor. What I called the governor is the player efficiency calculator that they were doing at the time. It had gotten to the point where it would decide you're doing well, you're doing too well, and therefore I'm going to pair you up with all the poor players that are not good, and then I'm going to take away your ability to do damage. I would have a match where you fire penetration, no damage, penetration, no damage, penetration, no damage, penetration, no damage. I had matches where I fired 20 times, and 2 of them actually did damage. So 90% of the time, I am not doing any damage with my shots. And then you're going to give me money and experience based on the damage I did. Why am I playing this? Those 2, the community and the player efficiency calculator, the way it was being run and set up at that time, are what made me drop the game. So that's it, I'm done. I'm out of here. I left. People I know that played, and they were saying, oh no, they did all this stuff, they really cleaned up the community, you gotta come back, come on, try it out, just okay. So I reloaded my game and loaded up my account, and I was amazed at something. I couldn't believe I had that much gold left on my account. I'd forgotten how much I had left on here. And I'd forgotten what I was researching and working on, and how to drive a tank. At first, you kind of get the anytime you go back to a game that you've not played anything like it for quite some time. It's been roughly 3 years since I played World of Tanks, so it's a little bit of a learning curve getting back into it. I did not notice any what I would call problems with the community. A few people complained about the matchmaker, but that's to be expected. There are people who always complain about matchmaker. That's kind of the way it is. Oh, I didn't win. I'm not the top tier. I'm going to complain about the matchmaker. And I have known people, gamers that I've known that I really didn't have much respect for, actually. They would complain and pitch a fit if they were not the highest tier tank, highest tier tank in the game. If they were not top tier, they would bellyache and complain, and they just weren't having fun. And as far as the matchmaker goes, based on the number of people that are playing the game right then and available, that's the best combination it's able to come up with. You know, even them out as best it can. It's never going to be absolutely perfectly even because some players are going to be better on one map than another. Some tanks are going to be better. Just because they're approximate same tier doesn't mean they're exactly the same. It's all in how you play it. And those uneven aspects, I accept as part of the challenge. See, I see games as a logic challenge. Skill, yes, obviously in there, but can you use your resources to defeat the other even though they have this advantage? Because you have another advantage. If nothing else, because they have that advantage, they think they're superior and be overconfident and easy to defeat. Wahaha. I don't get upset about those variations. What I get upset about is when one team is handed a huge advantage, it's clearly not even, or they're just pandering to people who aren't really good players. The power gamers, which is what many have become. So, as I was saying, the community, I have not noticed anything that's been a problem, and I can't, due to the fact I've just come back after a long time away, I'm sure that if they are using the player efficiency calculator in that way, it has enough history of me to be able to assess whether I should be gimped and crippled, and I'm hoping very much that they don't do that, because that was stupid. Great way to drive players from the game. I have noticed, I have worked a little bit with artillery. Artillery seems to be playable. It does seem to be playable. I have not run my really high tier stuff because I don't want to spend that kind of money on resources. I have noticed a few players haven't been the most considerate on a few things. Driving along a park, I haven't had a lot of situations with people driving in front of me. Not that that's come up a lot with them to be able to. But, you take a good spot, you sit there, get lined up on the enemy, people drive by, and bulldoze your tank out of the way. It only happened one time, but yeah, you gotta wonder about these people that are like, come on. I was here, I'm here, do you mind? People are people. Inconsiderate players. That's to be expected. But I would have people literally shoot me in the back, take out my engine, just to get my spot that I was going for. Whip around me. Just all sorts of stuff. I haven't seen any of that. Nothing remotely close to that. So far, this one incident here has been the only time. So player community seems better. Can't really make a judgment on the way the governor is. I have noticed they still have that one bug in here where for some reason they haven't fixed that bug yet. That's the bug where I usually only live about 3 to 5 minutes into a match before I die. I would have thought by now they would have fixed that. I mean, it's been 3 years for refinement purposes. So they're still working on it, I'm sure. Many of the maps that I was playing on, I was surprised that I knew them. I was expecting them to be rotating through and replacing all the maps, and none of the maps that I played on or were familiar with, or very few of them, would still be here. They have made a few refinements and adjustments. There's one map. Oh, they filled in that one opening. You used to be able to hide in that and be a jerk, and that was, so it's filled in. You can't do that. Oh well. As I said, when I left, I wanted to hate this game. I wanted to just curse them out, leave, and be done with it. What surprises me is I couldn't. I in the back of my mind, I remember how great it was back in the day. Yeah, they made a lot of stupid stuff. One of the they used to do competitions. I don't know if they still do. Every now and then they do a little competition. By competition, it was on their website. For example, the one was Women of Tanks. You had to submit a picture with a woman, or Girls of Tanks, whatever it was called, and a tank. I mean, technically, a girl standing in front of a tank at a museum would qualify. Not very creative, not very imaginative. I submitted basically a cartoon, put it in here in the video, and that's actually a real situation where my wife and I were playing, and the team just melted, fell apart We were it. And we survived. The rest of the team tried to come at us, and they wanted to peek around a corner. We were covering each other's back. Wanted to come around the corner, we start tearing into them, and then he'd back away. No, I don't want to take them. Somebody else come up, tearing into them. They'd back out. No. We survived. They were not able to take us. So, we did survive that one. I've done better artwork, but for what I threw together, it was a fun little cartoon. And, it met the requirements. And technically a girl holding a toy tank, a model of a tank, things like that would qualify. You did see a lot of that in there. One of the rules, they said it couldn't be a TV screenshot of a movie. It couldn't be a clip of any of those. One of the mine did not make the final, which I'm not going to bellyache about, but one of the ones that did make the final violated the very agreement. So it was a shot from a movie. They put that in the finals. And it's like, what the? So I stopped taking part in those competitions after that, just because of the stupidity of it. But I really loved the feel of the game. I mean, it did have a wonderful feel. It was just a wonderful feel. I have missed it. I'm not going to say I'm definitely back. I'm all bored, this and that. I'm going to do it, I am giving it a chance to see if it can redeem itself. If their administration of the game and the community are worthy, we'll see. But they are on probation. And if they could just fix that bug where I die every 3 to 5 minutes would be really big help. Alright, let you go. Game on.